Just a few short years ago, Jordan Matthews was finishing up his second year with the Eagles as he caught 85 passes for 997 yards and 8 touchdowns. It looked like the sky was the limit for the young star, but just 4 years later, he's basically out of the league. In today's video, we'll be taking a look back at Jordan Matthews' football career, and we'll try to figure out what happened. If you are new to the channel, please be sure to subscribe, as I have a ton of awesome content planned for the summer, and I really need your help to reach my 2.1k subscriber goal by the end of May. Now let's get started with what happened to Jordan Matthews. Believe it or not, Jordan Matthews wasn't even supposed to be a football star at first, as he actually grew up loving the game of soccer. Since his mother was worried about Jordan getting injured, she urged him to play soccer, and he fell in love with the game. By the time he got to Madison Academy, his mind had been changed completely. His new dream was to play wide receiver, and he was actually pretty good at it. He became an all-state caliber player for the Alabama high school, but Jordan still didn't have the offers he wanted. Yes, he received offers from schools such as Kansas, Tulane, and Arkansas State, but he wanted and knew he could play at a higher level. Eventually, Jordan decided it was best for him to walk on at Auburn, but that all changed on Christmas Eve. That night, Vanderbilt head coach Bobby Johnson called him and his family up and offered Jordan a scholarship. From there, the rest is history. According to 24/7 Sports, Matthews was a 3-star recruit, the number 162 wide receiver, and the 1,283rd best player in the class of 2010. If you decide to play football for Vanderbilt, you have to be prepared for 3 things. 1. You have a very rigid academic program with high expectations in the classroom. 2. You can expect to play your heart out on the field, but consistently lose to your conference opponents. Finally, at number 3, if you ever wanted to play in big games or play in meaningful bowl games, then you're basically crazy because that likely just wasn't going to happen. 1945, to be exact, was the last time Vanderbilt had been ranked in football, but better times were on the way. Going into the 2010 season, head coach Bobby Johnson unexpectedly retired, and Robbie Caldwell was the interim head coach. As usual, the Commodores did not see much on-field success as they went 2-10 and got blown out almost every game. As a freshman, Jordan caught 15 passes for 181 yards and 4 touchdowns. Going into 2011, Vanderbilt hired an up-and-coming coordinator by the name of James Franklin. Little did Vanderbilt fans know what this was going to do to their program. The team's quarterback was Jordan Rodgers, who's actually the brother of Aaron Rodgers. Vanderbilt football had a different vibe to it in 2011, as they started out 3-0 and Jordan was the team's go-to playmaker. They lost some games against some SEC premier teams, but they did beat Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Wake Forest to finish the regular season at 6-6. They lost a close game to Cincinnati in the Liberty Bowl, but Vanderbilt football was on the rise. As a sophomore, Matthews became the team's best receiver as he caught 41 passes for 778 yards and 5 touchdowns. Before we go into his junior year, I ask you guys that if you're enjoying this video, please be sure to hit that like button. Going into his junior year, Vanderbilt football was finally getting some hype, and they even made improvements to their football stadium. They opened up their season on national television, but lost a close one to South Carolina. After starting out 2-4, Franklin and Matthews helped lead the Commodores to 7 straight wins against Ole Miss, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Wake Forest before they beat NC State in the Music City Bowl to finish 9-4 on the year. The Commodores became ranked for the first time since 1945, and Vanderbilt football was becoming something special. After the season, Jordan Matthews was a household name in the SEC as he caught 94 passes for 1,323 yards and 8 touchdowns en route to becoming a member of the All-SEC first team. Matthews could have left for the NFL after his junior year, but he wanted to come back for his senior year and do something special. Going into his senior year, he was listed on every award watch list possible and was a preseason All-American. Unfortunately, the season started out bad as 4 players were charged with rape, and unfortunately, the players who did that were dismissed from the program. They had to begin the season 4-4 before things could begin to turn their way. They won their last 5 games against Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Wake Forest before they beat Houston in the BBVA Compass Bowl. They finished the season 9-4, and people couldn't believe what had happened to Vanderbilt football. On the year, Matthews caught a whopping 112 passes for 1,477 yards and 7 touchdowns while becoming a first-team All-SEC selection and a first-team All-American. Not only did Jordan become one of the best players in Vanderbilt history, but he was also pegged to become a high-round NFL draft selection. Following the season, James Franklin took the head coaching job at Penn State, and Vanderbilt hired Derek Mason. Since then, Vanderbilt has gone back to being the joke of the SEC, and it seems that nothing is going to change anytime soon as long as Mason is still their head coach. Scouts knew that Matthews had excellent hands, was a good route runner, was a good athlete, and had a ton of college production, but he lacked deep speed, wasn't overly big and fast, and just wasn't fast enough to be an NFL receiver. Despite those concerns, the Philadelphia Eagles selected Matthews with the 42nd overall pick in the second round. Jordan was expected to have a day one impact for the Eagles, and he did. He scored his first 2 touchdowns in their Week 3 game against the Washington Redskins. Matthews had his biggest game of his rookie year in the Monday Night Football showdown against the Carolina Panthers. He caught 7 passes for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns as he was showing his full potential as a player. That ended up being the highlight of his year as he finished with 67 receptions for 872 yards and 8 touchdowns. In his second year, Matthews was becoming an NFL star, and he proved why everyone was so high on him. He started out the season with 10 catches for 102 yards and set the tone for the year. There were 4 games where he caught over 100 yards and finished the season with a career-high 85 receptions for 997 yards and 8 touchdowns. The sky was the limit for Matthews at this point, and he was becoming one of the league's best young receivers. In his third year, things began to go south. Yes, he caught a career-high 73 passes, but his yardage dropped to 804 yards and a career-low 3 touchdowns. I'm not exactly sure why, but the Eagles felt it was time to move on from him, and he was traded to the Buffalo Bills. Once he got to Buffalo, his career began to fall apart due to injury. He suffered a thumb injury and ended up cutting his season short. He finished the year with career lows in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. After his lone year with the Bills, he was signed by the New England Patriots, but he was released because of a hamstring injury. From there, he joined the injury-riddled Eagles, but wasn't the same player he once was. First, he spent some time with the 49ers, then he returned to the Eagles again, and finally, he returned to the 49ers for a second time. Matthews was part of the practice squad for the Niners team that ended up getting the Super Bowl this year. So after re-examining his career, we can now answer the question, what happened to Jordan Matthews? I think the answer is pretty obvious, and that's injury. After battling those injuries, he wasn't exactly the same player, and eventually his role in the NFL just began to fade. There's definitely more than that, and if you have a theory or something to add, please let me know in the comment section down below. Honestly, I really don't know why Matthews didn't get another chance, as he had production his first 3 years, but then everyone just seemingly gave up on him. Overall, I was too young to remember him at Vanderbilt. I remember watching him on the Eagles, and I really enjoyed his game. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, be sure to hit that like button. If you enjoy college football content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I also need your help to reach my 2.1k subscriber goal by the end of May. Hope to see you guys again soon, and if you're still here, be sure to check out these other videos I've put on the screen for you guys to watch next. Until next time, peace.